Amina, guess what?
What?
Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting Megan Thee Stallion, and his first court date was on October 13th.
Okay, so all of you need to stay tuned and find out what Tory's being charged with and what he's facing.
Ladies in law, ladies in law, ladies in law, ladies in law.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Make sure you like our video and subscribe to the Ladies in Law.
Yeah, you know that little heart and thumbs up at the bottom of your screen? Click it before you do anything else.
Right, because legal news like this is too hot to miss. And we're bringing it to you every Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm Rippy.
And I'm Shake.
And we're the Ladies in Law.
We're ripping and shaking up all the legal information you know, need to know, and want to know.
From the tabloids to the courthouse to your own home.
Okay, so this week we're talking about Canadian rapper Tory Lanez and his involvement with a crime with mega superstar Megan Thee Stallion. Okay.
Hot girl.
Hot girl summer, yes. Well, Tory Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, I like Daystar, is facing now 3 felony counts, okay? So he's facing 1 count of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, 2, personal use of that firearm, and 3, a count of carrying a loaded, concealed firearm in a vehicle. And that comes from the LA County DA's office in a statement. So back on July 12th, Tory was riding an SUV around, I'm sure it was pretty nice, in the Hollywood Hills when he got into...
Wait, weren't they coming from Kylie Jenner's house?
Yes!
Oh my gosh.
This is messy. So he's driving this thing around or riding it around, this SUV, in the hills, and got in an argument with Megan Thee Stallion. And from that, and there's lots of video footage of this, he's accused of shooting at her feet several times when she was exiting the car, and then obviously, well, you know, causing her some injuries.
I want to know, I'm really interested to know what they were arguing about. I mean, because there's been all kind of theories. Some people have said that there was a lover's quarrel. That,
really?
Yeah, that Megan and Tory were involved on the low.
Oh, because I haven't heard any of that.
And that she got upset with him that night because maybe he was hitting on Kylie Jenner. Or there was also another story that said Megan's best friend, Kelsey, was also sleeping with Tory. So I want to know the facts. I'm really interested to know what comes out in this case and what the motive behind everything was.
Well, either way, he shot at her feet. So he was pissed off. Let's find out what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, so Tory's first court date, which is called an arraignment, was back on October 13th. Now, at an arraignment, this is the first date where somebody is like actually formally charged with a crime.
Yeah.
The person will either enter a plea of not guilty, they'll stand mute, or they'll enter a guilty plea. So not guilty, obviously you're saying like, I'm not guilty, I didn't do this. Guilty plea, you'll enter a guilty plea, you'll either be sentenced immediately or you'll have another sentencing date. Now, standing mute, the court will enter a not guilty plea for you and give you another court date. So that's what we see most common because it really gives someone the most flexibility moving forward. So let's say you say I'm not guilty at the arraignment, but then at the next court date you plead guilty, it kind of hurts your credibility with the judge.
Yeah, the judge doesn't like that.
So if you stand mute, you're just saying like, I'm not saying anything. You know?
I got to figure out what I'm going to do, and I don't know what it is yet. My lawyer and I need to have more discussion.
And the court treats that as a not guilty plea, and that just gives you the flexibility. Like if you want to plead guilty, it doesn't hurt your credibility later on.
That's pretty much what we have all of our criminal defense clients, our defendant clients do, unless we know like you're really gonna piss off the judge if you don't just plead. Now,
some people won't want to get out. Like if it's like driver one license suspended is a misdemeanor in Michigan, so some people are like, okay, I just want to clear my tickets. I want to get my license back. I'm gonna plead guilty right here. Boom, boom, get it done. Pay fines so I can get my license. So also at the arraignment, in addition to formally being charged, a judge will also set a bond for someone. So a bond is in place to really ensure that someone's going to come back to court. And it's the money that they have to pay so that they can stay out of jail while this whole case is pending and they figure out exactly how they want to proceed. If everything goes well, whatever bond that someone posted will either be returned to them or be applied to their court costs and fines.
Yeah.
But if they end up missing a court date, the judge can actually forfeit the bond. The court keeps that money for themselves, and the judge will set a warrant out for that person's arrest.
I see that happen all the time. I'm like, even a couple $100, why would you do that?
I see people post like 4 or 5 bonds on the same case. It's like 200 here, 300 here, 500 here. It's like, by the time you posted, it's like 2,000 in bonds that you posted and forfeited. You could have just pled guilty from the jump and paid your fines and kept it moving.
And you pissed the judge off a lot. A lot.
But the court's making money, so.
The court's making money, so they are happy about that. Well, okay, there's different types of bonds. There's 4 main types of bonds. And the first one is called a personal bond. This is basically the judge, the court saying, hey, you're giving your word that you're going to show back up. And if you don't show back up, then you're going to owe us money and we'll come hunt you down for it. But you don't owe any money up front. It's a personal bond.
That's the best type.
That's the best type. That's what we always try to go for. But for certain types of cases like murder and different things, you're never going to get a personal bond. Then there's what's actually lumped together usually is called cash surety. Cash bond is you owe some cash up front, okay? You're gonna have to pay whatever that cash is for that bond. Cash surety, the surety part is you have a bond's bailman. Like, they're gonna post it for you. And hey, if you don't get it together, I've seen bonds bailmen in court saying, we can't get a hold of them. You're gonna owe them that money and there's gonna be an extra percentage
and
tacked
typically
on.
you have to give up some type of property to the bail bondsman just as security in case they lose out on that money in the event that you don't show up to court. Right,
and that's usually, you know, those stores across the street from the court are the bondsmen. Well, then there's also your 10%. 10% is basically like, okay, so the judge said $2,500 bond, 10%. You're only gonna owe $250 of that. You know, it's just a way with words, I guess, but those are your main types of bonds. Now, when setting a bond amount, and attorneys have to argue on behalf of their client to make sure they get the lowest, hopefully personal bond, the judge has to consider 2 things. 1, the person's threat of danger to the community, and whether the person is a flight risk. So is this a person that has this long criminal history of like hurting people, like physically? They're gonna get a really, 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 really high bond because the judge doesn't necessarily want them out in public because they may hurt the community, hurt members of the community.
Right.
Flight risk, pretty to the point. Are they a flight risk? Can they like leave and never show up, go out of country?
Or have they missed a lot of court dates in the past? I mean, do they just not handle their business in court? And
to be honest, if those 2 factors really weigh against the defendant, a judge might say that they don't get bond at all. Well, so celebrities, they usually they're considered high flight risk.
They have the money to move around like they want to.
Yeah, and then someone like Tory Lanez, he's Canadian, so he's even more of a flight risk. Well, he posted a $190,000 bond. That's probably why it's a lot higher because of that factor. I'd say.
Yeah, I would say so. So in addition to setting a bond amount at the arraignment, the judge can also place bond conditions. So these are things that a person can and cannot do while they are on bond while the case is pending. Now, based on our experience as criminal defense attorneys in Michigan, given the situation that Tory is faced with in Michigan, the judge would order him not to have any contact with Megan.
Yeah.
They always order the defendant not to have any contact with the alleged victim. Tory would also not be able to possess any firearms or dangerous weapons. He would also most likely be ordered not to consume alcohol or any type of drugs without a prescription, and the court may even order random drug screening while the case is pending.
Was alcohol involved in this incident? I'm assuming it was.
It was, but it's interesting because in Tory's case, he was ordered not to have contact with Megan. He was also ordered to surrender his firearms. I'm not sure exactly whether alcohol was banned. It may have been. Just because, like we said, alcohol was a factor. They were coming from this party at Kylie Jenner's house. I'm sure he was intoxicated.
Oh, sure, yeah.
When this event happened. Now, if someone actually violates these bond conditions that are set in place, the judge can revoke the bond that they posted, or increase it, order them to pay even more. So this is a serious thing. Like, it's really important to abide by whatever conditions that a judge sets in place for bond.
Okay, so let's talk about Tory's charges. Tory is charged with 1 felony count each of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, personal use of a firearm, and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle. Get it registered. Like, what? The defendant is now, Tory's the defendant, is facing a gun allegation and that he personally inflicted great bodily injury. So if Tory is convicted as charged, he faces a possible maximum sentence of 22 years and 8 months in state prison. That's a maximum.
Yikes.
That's a maximum, but like, she got shot in the foot. She recovered fairly quickly and good. So it's not what, like, oh my God, she's like hospitalized. That's still 22 years.
Get shot. I mean,
she
that's
got shot.
A traumatic experience.
That's
I
crazy.
cannot imagine
Just
going
pow,
through
pow,
that.
pow.
Now, Tory is also Canadian, so there are deportation implications with this whole ordeal. A conviction for a crime involving moral turpitude causes a person to actually be subject to deportation. Now, what is moral turpitude? A crime involving moral turpitude it's been vaguely defined as a depraved or immoral act, a violation of the basic duties owed to a fellow man or woman, and recently been defined as a reprehensible act with a state of mind that's at least reckless, like that you just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm not thinking about the consequences. Not that you specifically intended for that outcome to happen, but that you just acted so reckless and without any caution that it was likely to outcome. So based on Tory's situation and shooting, you know, Megan, whether he intended or not, it seemed like it was a reckless act. Assault is typically a felony. Assault is typically a crime involving moral turpitude. So Tory, he's going to be facing a lot of legal problems here.
Yeah, no, it goes way beyond the prison sentence he's potentially facing. Way beyond that. You gotta think. I mean, if there's alcohol involved, though, who knows? But you can't just go shooting around. And
technically, if you're drunk, you're not supposed to carry, even if you were a registered gun owner.
Yeah, but he wasn't even registered.
Talked about in one of our videos. You gotta check out our CPL videos.
Check out those. But this is definitely super interesting, this whole case, and not just because of the people involved. I mean, we've got celebrities involved, but as you were just saying, Jasmine, Tory's a Canadian. Now we've got like this kind of like two-country issue that creeps up more often than people realize. We'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll have a follow-up video very soon. But yeah, super interesting, so stay tuned. So thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe so that you get all of the hottest legal news every week from the Ladies in Law.
That's another episode of Ladies in Law, not your average lawyers.
Ladies in law, ladies in law, ladies in law, ladies in law.